A woman was in a coma. Nurses were in her room giving her a sponge bath when one of them noticed that there was a response on the monitor whenever her crotch was touched. They went to her husband and explained what happened, telling him, crazy as this sounds, but maybe a little oral stuff will do the trick and bring her out of the coma. The husband was skeptical, but they assured him they'd close the curtains for privacy. The hubby finally agreed and went to his wife's room. After a few minutes, the woman's monitor flatlined. No pulse, no heart rate, nothing. The nurses ran into the room. The husband, who was standing beside his wife's bed, pulling up his pants, said, I think she choked. Ethel loved to speed around the nursing home in her wheelchair, taking corners on one wheel and getting up to maximum speed on the long corridors. Because the poor woman was one sandwich short of picnic, the other residents tolerated her, and some of the males actually joined in. One day, Ethel was speeding up one corridor when a door opened and Mad Mickey stepped out with his arm outstretched. "Stop!" he shouted in a firm voice. "Have you got a license for that thing?" Ethel fished around in her handbag and pulled out a Kit Kat wrapper, then held it up to him. "Okay," he said, and away Ethel sped down the hall. As she took the corner near the TV lounge on one wheel, Weird Harold popped out in front of her and shouted, "Stop! Have you got proof of insurance?" Ethel dug into her handbag, pulled out a drink coaster and held it up to him. Harold nodded and said, "Carry on, ma'am." As Ethel neared the final corridor before the front door, Crazy Craig stepped out in front of her, stark naked, holding a very sizable erection in his hand. "Oh, good grief," said Ethel. "Not the breathalyzer again." The woman asks her husband if he'd like some breakfast. "Would you like bacon and eggs, perhaps? A slice of toast, grapefruit and coffee to follow?" she asks. He declines. "It's this viagra," he says. "It's really taken the edge off my appetite." At lunchtime, she asked if he could like something. "A bowl of homemade soup, homemade muffins, or cheese sandwich?" she inquires. He declines. "It's this viagra. It's really taken the edge off my appetite." Come dinner time, she asks if he wants anything to eat. She'll go to the store and buy him some food. "Would you like maybe a steak and apple pie? Maybe you'd like a pizza microwaved or a tasty stir fry. That would only take a couple of minutes." He declines. "It's this viagra," he says. "It's really taking the edge off my appetite." "Well," she says, "would you mind letting me up then? I'm starving." A very elderly couple went to see an therapist. The doctor asked, "What can I do for you?" The man said, "Will you watch us have sexual intercourse?" The doctor looked puzzled, but agreed. When the couple finished, the doctor said there's nothing wrong with the way you have intercourse and charged them $50. This happened several weeks in a row. The couple would make an appointment, have intercourse with no problems, pay the doctor, and then leave. Finally, the doctor asked, "Just exactly what are you trying to find out?" The old man said, "We're not trying to find out anything. She's married, so we can't go to her house. I'm married, so we can't go to my house either. The Holiday Inn charges $90, the Hilton charges $108, so we do it here for $50. And I get $43 back from my medical insurance." One morning, the members of a farm family were coming to the kitchen for breakfast. Just as Junior seated himself, his mother told him he was not going to get anything to eat until he went to the barn and fed the animals. Irritated at this, he stumps out of the door and headed for the barn. As she fed the chickens, he kicked each one in the head. As the cow bent down to start it on, the fresh hay he had just put in the stall. He kicked it in the head. He poured for the pigs, and as they started eating, he kicked them in the head. He went back to the kitchen and sat down again. His mother was furious. "I saw what you did, and as you kick the chickens, you'll get no eggs for breakfast. And since you kicked a cow, you'll get no milk, and no bacon or sausage because you kicked the pigs." Just then, the father came down the stairs and nearly tripped on the family cat. On impulse, he kicked the cat off the stairs. The boy looked at his mother and asked, "Are you going to tell him, or should I?" The kindergarten class had a homework assignment to find out about something exciting and related to the class the next day. When the time came for the little kids to give their reports, the teacher was calling on them one at a time. She was reluctant to call upon little Johnny, knowing that he sometimes could be a bit crude. But eventually his turn came. Little Johnny walked up to the front of the class and, with a piece of chalk, made a small white dot on the blackboard, then sat back down. Well, the teacher couldn't figure out what Johnny had in mind for his report, so she asked him just what that was. "It's a period," reported Johnny. "Well, I can see that," she says, "but what is so exciting about a period?" "Damned if I know," said Johnny, "but this morning my sister said she missed one. Then Daddy had a heart attack, Mommy fainted, and the man next door shot himself." There's a boy and a girl in a religious education class. The girl falls asleep. The teacher asks a question: "Who created Earth?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she yells, "God." She falls back to sleep. The teacher asks another question: "Who were the Holy Family?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she says, "Jesus, Mary, Joseph." She falls back to sleep. The teacher asks another question: "What did Mary say to Joseph after their 23rd baby?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she says, "If you stick that thing in me one more time, I swear I will snap it in half." 54-year-old accountant leaves a letter for his wife one Friday evening that reads, "Dear wife, I am 54, and by the time you receive this letter, I will be at the Grand Hotel with my beautiful and attractive 18-year-old secretary. When he arrives at the hotel, there's a letter waiting for him that reads as follows: Dear husband, I too am 54, and by the time you receive this letter, I will be at the Breakwater Hotel with my handsome and whirly 18-year-old boy toy. You, being an accountant, will know that 18 goes into 54 more many times than 54 goes into 18. So Johnny woke up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom. On the way back to bed, he passed his parents' room. When he looked in, he noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his dad. "Hey Dad, what are you doing?" The dad answered, "Playing cards." Little Johnny asked, "Who's your partner?" The dad answered, "Your mom." Little Johnny then passed by his older sister's room again. He noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his sister. "Hey sis, what are you doing?" The sister answered, "Playing cards." Little Johnny asked, "Who's your partner?" She answered, "My boyfriend." A little later, Dad got up and went to the bathroom. As he passed Little Johnny's room, he noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his son, "What are you doing?" Little Johnny answered, "Playing cards." Dad asked, "Really? Who's your partner?" Little Johnny answered, "You don't need a partner if you have a good hand." A man was sitting at a bar enjoying an after-work cocktail when an exceptionally gorgeous and young woman entered. She was so striking that the man could not take his eyes away from her. The young woman noticed his overly attentive stare and walked directly towards him. Before he could offer his apologies for being so rude, the young woman said to him, "I'll do anything, absolutely anything that you want me to do, no matter how kinky, for $100. One condition only." Flabbergasted, the man asked what the condition was. The young woman replied, "You have to tell me what you want me to do in just 3 words. The man considered her proposition for a moment, withdrew his wallet from his pocket, and slowly counted out 5 $20 bills, which she pressed into the young woman's hand. He looked into her eyes and slowly, meaningfully said, "Paint my house." The young man is starting his first ever job at a morgue. The boss of the morgue thinks, "I'll throw him in the deep end on the first day. Give him a real challenge." So he takes the young man to the door and he tells the young man, "Behind this door is a room with nothing in, apart from a dead old woman lying completely naked on a slab. You have to go in and inspect her body." "Inspect her body?" the young man asks. "Yes," replies the boss. "Check if everything is okay." So the young man goes through the door into the room, and the boss waits outside. After what seems like a very long time, the young man comes out of the room. "Everything okay?" asks the boss. "Yes," answered the young man, "except one thing. She's got a prawn stuck up her pussy." "She's got a pawn stuck up her pussy?" exclaims the boss, astonished. "Yes," replies the young man. The boss decides he has to go in and check this out. So he goes into the room and the young man waits outside. The boss quickly returns and the young man says, "See, I told you, that's not a prawn, that's her clitoris," explains the boss. "Well, it tasted like a prawn," answered the young man. Guy was playing golf and a golf ball hit him in the balls and he passed out. His friends took him to the doctor. The man asked him, "Well, what do you think, doc?" The doctor replied, "You're going to have to put a support for about a week." He then took 4 tongue depressors and tied them all together with string. The man's face looked disappointed. He told the doctor, "But tonight my girlfriend and I are going to have for the first time." The doctor replied, "You're going to have to bear with it." Later that night, the man and his girlfriend were alone. She took off her shirt and grabbed her breasts. No one has ever seen this before. The man pulls out his and said, "Well, mine's still in the crate."